just like that.
Kind of scraping off for the most part.
Yeah.
So you're scraping it more than trying to get under the silver skin and pry it up.
You'll get a feel for the difference in that fat and the meat after doing it a few times. You see, I'm pulling the knife this way, like that. There's a
So
little
you're
meat coming off.
riding that layer of fat without really getting the meat too much.
Yeah. But I don't really bother too much with this. Again, it's you know, if you're really meticulous about it, you can do that. I would just probably leave that just like that. Anybody have any questions before we flip this thing over?
Everybody know how to go to Facebook Live?
I don't. I'm old school,
Youngest person
man.
in the room.
This guy over here, maybe this guy. All right, so we're gonna flip this thing over. This piece over here, if everybody can see what I'm doing here, there's gonna be some really hard, kind of thick fat right there. What I like to do is kind of work that up like that, and then come in here with my knife. And this is really important. Kansas City, they leave this like this, and then they serve those as burn ends. But in an offset cooker, or, you know, I cook at really high temperatures toward the end of the cook. Our briskets go on the cooker around 120 degrees, and they come off around 325. So you're talking about toward the end, that's super, super hot, and that tends to get kind of burnt up. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my knife as flat as possible with that side of the brisket as well, keeping your knife really nice and flat. Take that off like that. See, nice and flat, nice and even. And if you still got some hard fat over here on that side, you can you know, shake that up too. Again, we're making this thing as nice and smooth and round as possible. Like that. And here, I like to kind of shape this up a little too, if there's time. And again, I'm spending more time than normal because you don't want to be in a hurry when you're trimming brisket. But because I've trimmed like 1,000 of these things, it's
Second nature.
second nature. And again, you see we're making it nice and pretty, nice and round, just like that. More dog food. All right, now that we've got that out of the way, sometimes there will be some meat here that doesn't have any fat on it, or if you just want to go ahead and clean that up around that area right there, you know, looks a little prettier, a little easier. If you're cooking on an offset pit, you think about convection moving from one end of the pit to another, and you're going to want that to kind of sweep around this part of the brisket like that. If there's anything sort of misshapen, it's going to kind of be in the way of your airflow, especially if you're cooking more than one thing. So then we start over here with this piece of fat. It's a little bit much. Go real slow here because this is a really soft fat. We'll take that off. Now, if you're cooking a prime brisket, you can take a lot of fat off and it's still going to be nice and moist at the end of the cook because there's just so much fat in the meat. If you're cooking a choice brisket, maybe leave a little more on there just to give it some protection.
What are these?
because these are all prime.
Oh.
Everything you guys are taking today are prime.
Well, Brian, when you do, I know you took it out of the refrigerator. Do you generally trim it while it's cold?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's a lot easier to trim a cold brisket.
About how much fat do you want to leave on there in general? You could-
It kind of depends on the ratio of meat, to be honest with you.
Okay.
There's nothing wrong with leaving a good amount of fat if you've got, a good bit of meat on there. So, we're just gonna keep going here.
So are you doing this to be basically level with the other side? Is that kind of deciding how much to take off on the back on the point there?
Oh, do you mean on that side there?
No, over here. Like how far was that, just to kind of be level?
Yeah,
with that
and to
side?
clean it up. Sometimes there will be some really ugly things in the fat that you don't, sometimes there will be, a part of skin still in there or something hairy in there from the animal. You want to just clean that up.
So you just do a layer on top, basically.
Yeah. You see how I've got my hand under there to help with that? And again, be really, really careful. If your brisket's got a big gash in it or something, you've got your hand up there, so always want to keep your hand flat. Like that. So as you can see, we're just getting this thing nice and smooth. I would probably leave that much fat on there, which is that's about 1/4 of an inch.
Yeah.
About 1/4 of an inch. Right there. And there you go. That's how I trim a brisket. I usually try and only spend about 1.5 to 2 minutes per brisket. Because if you've got to do 10 of them,
Yeah.
Right.
again, your question about you take it from the cold thing, you take them all out and sit there. The longer it sits, the harder it's going to be to trim. So, and until you salt it and all, I mean, it's a piece of meat that's being exposed. Now you've trimmed a lot of stuff off of there, so there's still new bacteria that's attacking this thing as we speak. But is that a problem? No, because we're going to cook the crap out of this thing. We're going to cook the heck out of this thing. All right.
Yeah, it only takes me about 30 minutes to try to do a butcher job.
1.5 minutes to get the packaging off the meat.
So now we're going to see. Does anybody have any other questions? Does that look good?
Yeah.
Nice, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is what I do with every brisket. I mean, if you're cooking in a competition, of course you would spend more. You would get all that stuff off of there. I mean, I've seen people with those with like a vegetable peeler to get it all as perfect as possible. And I don't know. I've never been a big competition guy. We used to cook in competitions. Our scores would be sort of in the middle. It'd be weird. We'd have judges give us all 6s, and then other ones give us all 2s for the same thing. It's like, I don't understand. So we're gonna use this Lane's brisket seed. You should tell him that I was here using this.
I will.
So brisket is a big piece of beef, and one of the mistakes that I commonly see people make is under-seasoning a brisket. I always kind of start on the point.
So there's no binder or anything like that.
No, I mean, you can use oil, you can use pickle juice, mustard. I've seen all those things.
It's not really necessary though.
No. Some people think that it helps the rub adhere to the meat, but out of the thousands of these things I've trimmed and cooked, I have never witnessed that make too much of a difference.
Is that a brisket rub, you say?
This is a beef rub. Yeah, it's their brisket rub. Smells like it's got some garlic in there, salt, pepper, garlic.
Yeah.
Sugar free. Yeah, you never want to put sugar in any of your rubs, not even the rubs for pork or ribs or anything. Always wait to add sweet stuff toward the end or even when it's done.
So he's using the small bottles I got left. I'm getting ready to convert over to the large lanes. That's why I'm running low on all lane stuff, but I usually carry their line.
And again, you want to be pretty
Are
heavy.
they from Georgia?
Yeah.
Lanes?
Yeah, Ryan Lanes went to Roswell High School.
Yeah. I think I know his brother. I didn't realize the other day when I went.
I keep telling him to come down here and do a cook.
I don't know him.
I guess when I order a bunch of cases of
That's
his
a lot.
rubs, I'll make it
So-
contingent.
There you go.
So I'll stop there, but you see I'm using a pretty good amount of rub there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big piece of meat. And when you eat brisket, the seasoning is only on the outside of the meat. So it's not like you're getting blasted with that flavor all throughout the whole slice of the thing. Do you have that thing rolling? We're going to put this thing on
Fire
there?
it up.
Pops can go away.
200?
Yeah. I'm not going to stick around for the cook, but he's going to have a really nice brisket to eat later.
Come back for dinner.
Yeah.
Maybe breakfast.
Yeah. What do you season yours with?
I like salt, pepper. I use kosher salt.
Yep.
And I sift it through a mesh sifter because kosher salt has irregularities in the flake size, and if you get too many big chunks in there, then it's not consistent. You'll get a piece of real salty salt. I don't like that. I like salt, pepper, and cayenne pepper.
So do you mix those together
Yeah.
first and then
Mm-hmm.
together?
You have your own recipe though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. his own.
Oh,
You ever gonna bottle it up and sell it?
A lot of
Keep it
people,
for your
buy it when they order for deliveries or catering because I offer my sauces, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of people would like something that's hermetically sealed that'll last longer. If they want to take it on a trip with them or ship it to somebody. All right, there we go. So as you can see, I used
a
the
whole
whole container, but
Yeah,
That's-
under.
That's what I'm thinking. I was
that's a big piece of meat.
3 or 4 times more than I usually do.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah.
The worst
Yeah,
thing is
yeah.
that you have one that's
But, yeah.
a little over seasoned, but that'll show you what you do next time, right?
Yeah.
A little pepper there.
I don't think I've ever hit that yet.
threshold?
That threshold.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Excuse me. And then you eat it.
Smells good.
So I'm gonna put this aside.
I guess. They must be able to do a pork butt too. I'm going to put that one on there and it's even thicker.
It's always like 70 degrees.
It's all right. I usually put the meat on the pit or whatever you're cooking with while it's cold.
While the pit's cold?
No, well, that too. Our briskets go on around 120 degrees, so that's not real hot in the beginning.
Yeah, no.
So yeah. So this has got some garlic, salt and pepper, but it's also got some garlic, thyme, paprika. No cayenne pepper. There's just something about the cayenne for me that just makes it kind of pop. It's not that it's necessarily spicy, because black pepper, you're gonna taste that. Like this doesn't have a lot of black pepper in it. I like a lot of black pepper. And you can experiment with different grinds of black pepper. 16 mesh is what I use, which is kind of like what they call like a restaurant grind or whatever that is. I like to use Malabar pepper. So the two best peppers that come from India are Tellicherry and Malabar. Tellicherry is real expensive. Malabar is not too bad expensive. But I like Malabar pepper. I like how floral it is. Because you think about pepper, and a lot of people see that as a one-dimensional spice, that it has one dimension, but actually it's very complex if you buy fresh ingredients. So these rubs are only good for 6 months. 6 months, as are all the spices in your rack